Welcome from Berlin, where we have with Sony and the Xperia Z5 Premium on the right, and on the left we have the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. Beautiful smartphones, and of course also quite expensive, quite similar and quite different in a few terms. When it comes to camera they are different, when it comes to the design they are a little bit similar. When we look at them, for example, from the back, where we have on both this glossy back cover that just attracts fingerprints extremely. So you guys can see I just have to touch it and it gets already smudged, as on the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus you can see how many fingerprints there are already on there, which I can easily get off by just cleaning it on my pants, for example. There we go, and then it's a little bit cleaner now, but yeah, let's just pick them up both and look at these mirrors. On the right you can see me a little bit better in the mirror, so this is perfect as for girls, for example. Otherwise, camera-wise, again, 23 megapixels on the Sony, and then we have 16 on the Samsung, where the camera is actually sticking out, so it's not really quite that fair to say that the Samsung smartphone is thinner, 6.9 millimeters, while we have 7.8 millimeters on the Sony, so almost a millimeter more. Then, of course, you both have a single flash built in, but the Samsung also has this health sensor, which means that we can just check our heart rate on that phone. Then if you look at them from the side, you will see that we have on both this beautiful metal cover or metal border all around it, so it feels really premium. But the Samsung of course has this edge design, which is also quite nice. So micro USB on both, headset on both, on the Samsung on the bottom, on the Sony on top. But the Sony is actually even waterproof, so water resistant, which is quite nice for taking pictures and videos maybe underwater, or just using it in the shower and stuff like that, even though the ports are completely open. Then we have here the little place where we can just put a little handle on it on the Sony, or a little strap. On the top we have the nano SIM card slot for Samsung, and then the headset for the Sony. The nano SIM card slot is on the side on the Sony, but actually what's different to the Samsung here is also that we can expand the memory. So there's also micro SD card slot inside, which is quite handy. So volume rocker also, then a little Xperia logo. So the Samsung you cannot expand in memory, and also the battery is a little bit smaller in the Samsung with 3000 milliamps compared to 3430 on the Sony. So a little bit more there, and also more pixels on the screen on the Sony, because we have a 4K display, which is quite awesome on the Sony smartphone, compared to just Samsung's Quad HD with 2560 times 1440 pixels. So in terms of speed, we can just go here in the app drawer in both and just go a little bit left, right, where you will see that both feel quite fast, because we have on both devices a octa core processor, so 8 cores, with Samsung's Exynos 7420 solution on the left and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 solution on the right. A fingerprint reader here on the Samsung on the front on the home button. Then we have here the last app and back, also separate off the screen, which is 5.7 inches big. Sony now also has a fingerprint reader built in right here on the side, with the on and off switch, where you can just put your finger on it to have that security solution right there. Let me open up on both the browser, and we will try out then here the keyboard test, rotating test that I like to do, where it feels that both phones are about the same in speed. And then we can open up the camera, and then we can see that the front camera on the left is a little bit better, since the wide angle is better, but both have 5 megapixel cameras on the front, so that's alright. You can see also here that a mosquito bit my cheek this night, and yeah, the resolution is really quite nice. But let's just turn around both cameras, since this is not that interesting if you ask me. The back camera is the camera that we'll use more, and then let's just see that we have here on the Sony a little bit better wide angle, not much better, but a little bit better. But the screen is not as bright. We have on both the maximum display brightness set right now, but the Sony is a little bit darker here. But it's still an unfinished product. We can shoot here on both a picture at the same time to try the speed. Sony should have the better autofocus with 0.03 seconds for focusing, but let's just press the button and again. about the same in speed, you could say. Doesn't make much of a difference, and I don't think that you should decide based on this which one you should buy. But 16 megapixels here on the Sony, for example, let's check out this magazine a little bit close up, and 23 megapixels here on the Sony. Can't even get closer, so let's just compare the pictures here, where there might be a little bit more details maybe on the Samsung, but I think just the display is brighter. That's why you see a little bit more on the computer when we check it out. I think maybe it would look a little bit better. So both look quite awesome. But the wide angle of the Sony is just a little bit better, since the phones are completely in the picture. So this was it already from both devices in terms of comparison by me. I hope you liked it. Yeah, it's hard to decide in terms of dual speaker waterproofness with the Sony and the 4K display, and on a Samsung just this edged display, which is also quite interesting, and maybe a little bit better front camera, but otherwise smaller battery and not waterproof here, the Samsung. Thank you much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is Balazs, and this was the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium versus the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge Plus.
What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and a lot of people are going to be asking themselves very soon, should I stick to Android, my Galaxy S6 Edge, or should I switch over to the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus? With this video, I wanted to give you guys a good idea, actually 15 to be precise, why you should switch over to iPhone from Android. Now this isn't particularly for the S6 Edge, this can be applied to many Android phones, but I'm just going to focus on it for the duration of this video. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to get you to give up your beloved Android operating system. I understand that both sides have their pros and cons. However, if you're even remotely considering swapping over to the iPhone, this video will give you 15 good reasons as to why that's a good idea. Die-hard Android fans, you can turn this off right now because this video won't give you some magical insight you haven't heard of before. The iPhone 6s, although it's new beautiful hardware, it's not going to change your mind. This is just for people that are considering the change. Now I just want to add that until now with the 6s release, the S6 and iPhone 6 were not evenly matched. With the S6 and 6s, oh man, that's a mouthful, it's finally a fair fight. In retrospect, looking back at the iPhone 6, the performance wasn't all that bad comparing it to the S6 Edge Plus. I mean, it did a little bit worse in the multi-core score, but single cores, that's where it matters. For daily usage tasks, it did very well. Now, can you imagine the iPhone 6s with that all-new A9 chip, 2 GB of LPDDR4 RAM, and this is all rumored, but it is likely to happen. Can you imagine just how well this thing is going to do, especially paired with the optimization of the iPhone? Apple's basically going to be playing hardware catch-up with the iPhone 6s. And if you're used to superb performance, switching from an S6 to an iPhone 6s, not only will you see that performance on the iPhone, but it could possibly even be improved. Now, a lot of people are going to be pointing specs in the face of prospective iPhone 6 or 6s purchasers. The reason the S6 needs such high specs is because it doesn't do very well with optimizing the memory it does have. There's memory leaks, there's true native multitasking. So there's a lot of places where you would need 3 GB of RAM or 4 on Android. The iPhone does so well with what it has, and 2 GB of RAM on the 6s will be more than enough. So if it's the specs that have always put you off of iPhone, the iPhone 6s will do so much better. It'll have that new A9 chip, possibly triple or quad core, and 2 GB of LPDDR4 RAM. Again, this is based off of rumors. We won't actually know how these two compare on the performance level till I have both in hand and test them doing a full speed test, and I will have that on my channel. Another argument many people use is the fact that Android and most Samsung phones have removable SD cards and batteries, and that was true for the S4, S5, all previous Android phones until the S6 and S6 Edge. You can no longer do that, so the playing field is now even. There's no reason you wouldn't buy an iPhone just because of these two things, because they don't exist on either side anymore. And talk about being ahead of the curve. Apple's been offering no SD or removable batteries since the iPhone 2G. I kid, guys, I kid. iOS 9 catches up to Android in many ways, many of them being very obvious. I mean, why would it have Apple added them before? And I won't lie, not only was Apple inspired by Android for some of these features, some of them they blatantly copied. Although you don't get split screen multitasking or picture-in-picture or even an option to restart your phone from the power menu, iOS 9 is a welcome change as it brings transit, actually search in settings, the shift key actually works on iOS 9, you can actually select the frames per second for video, change the resolution like you've been able to do on Android for years already, and there's many that I'm not mentioning here, but basically iOS 9 is heavily inspired by its competition. So if you're used to Android, it's going to be good coming to iOS and seeing many of the features you're so used to here. The iPhone 6s is rumored to receive a 12 megapixel camera, just putting it 4 megapixels under the 16 on the S6 Edge. So although it's not their megapixel count, it will be there quality wise, especially in nighttime. Front-facing camera finally receiving a much needed upgrade, bringing it up to the level of 5 megapixel on the Galaxy S6, as well as a wide angle sensor. So thank goodness for that. Now, the one thing I gotta say about the iPhone, when putting it down on a table, the camera doesn't jut out as far as the S6 Edge, so it makes for more comfortable using it with one hand laying flat on the table. Now, a technology that the iPhone 6s will bring is the Force Touch display that'll allow you to press harder on the display to activate different gestures. Now, that's something no doubt Samsung will adopt, just like they adopted Touch ID in the form of their fingerprint sensor in the next generation Samsung. But for now, the iPhone 6s is unique with that display, and there's nothing Samsung offers anything like it. Can you guys imagine a world where you buy a phone and you don't get it preloaded with a whole bunch of applications? Well, I can't either. The iPhone does come with some bloatware, some applications that you cannot uninstall. However, they're significantly less in number than on the Galaxy S6. Now, depending on which carrier you have, you'll get a varying amount of bloatware, and most of it cannot be removed. Some of it can be disabled, but lots of this stuff is working in the background without your consent, so it can be annoying having to go and disable every single application, and it's taking up room that you can't remove. That's something I've always been happy with the iPhone about. It gives you a clean experience. Now, although Apple isn't offering $200 for you to switch over to iPhone like Samsung does, they do have this really nifty application called Move to iPhone that transfers everything on your phone from Android over to iOS, and this will be available once the iPhone 6s is launched with iOS 9. Now, both of these devices do cost roughly the same. There should be no reason you don't want to switch over to the iPhone 6s just because it costs more than a brand new S6 Edge. And as history has shown us, iPhone holds its value very, very well, whereas Samsung usually drops and drops further every single year. I'm very surprised at how well the iPhone holds its value. Now, take a look at this. These are all the devices Apple currently supports phone-wise on iOS 9. That's 4 generations of devices right there. And it's incredible how long Apple does support their devices. Whereas on Android, some of the phones you buy and in 1.5, 2 years, they're completely outdated. This is the current lineup from Galaxy that even has the newest update. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, I gotta tell you, Apple's been very good with filtering down features from the newest devices to older ones, as long as they make sense performance-wise. So just because you have an older iPhone doesn't mean it's automatically outdated past 2 years. Now that brings me to this point, software. Depending on which carrier you have, you're really at their mercy with the S6 Edge. You might not get an update for months and months after everybody else has, whereas on the iPhone, even update rollouts, and that is amazing. Everybody has the latest features and security updates at the same time. Now, Galaxy does make some tough phones. I'm not gonna lie, I've tested so many of them, and when it comes to drop tests and shock, the Galaxy always does so much better. Now, this time around, Apple's upgrading the strength of the iPhone 6s, so if durability is a major worry for you, don't be worried. The 6s will improve where the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus lacked. The iPhone 6s shell leak by Unbox Therapy points to a new material being used in the iPhone 6s material. However, when it comes to displays, we don't know much yet, but there could be a new, more durable display on the iPhone 6s. Now, there's really no denying this. The numbers back it up. The iPhone 6s's App Store has way more applications in it than the Play Store. However, that doesn't necessarily mean it's better. There's a lot of junk apps in there as well. However, I would like to point out, not only is there a more diverse app selection, updates are pushed out sooner on iOS rather than on Android. In this case, Snapchat gets an update almost 10 days sooner than the Android version. You can also use Android Wear with iOS. However, you can't use the Apple Watch with Android, and that's arguable as to why you would need it. But however, there are many Google applications on the App Store, whereas vice versa, if there is a certain application you want to use from the iPhone on Android, you will not find it. So it's nice to have that cross compatibility there. The integration that the iPhone 6s will provide with your computer is really awesome. It's nice to be able to pick up where you left off from your iPad, your iPhone on your computer. Android has nothing like this, and vice versa. It's so cool to be wherever you are at work and pick up right where you were off on your computer at home. phone. Now, the one place I can vouch for the iPhone in my personal experience is the support. I had a front-facing camera that was offset, just replaced. It's called the crescent moon issue. No questions asked. Even sometimes if your phone is out of warranty, if it's a defect on their part, Apple will fix their mistake. And it's so nice having a store you can walk into without having to ship your phone. Now, are there a ton more reasons to use the S6 over the iPhone 6s? Yeah, and there's many that I haven't even mentioned, but I just wanted to let you guys know that the iPhone 6s will level the playing field. It's finally in a true competition with the Galaxy S6, and as this video has shown us, there's a lot of good reasons to use the iPhone 6s over the S6. It's really not as bad as you guys think. These phones are becoming very similar in nature. No more micro SD or batteries that are removable. I mean, of course, there's a lot of restrictions on the iPhone, but as far as features go, Apple's really catching up, and in terms of processing power and cameras. Within the week, we're going to know what the iPhone 6s is all about, and once I have these guys in hand, I'll be doing full comparisons. But as it's looking now, based on all of the rumors and chatter about these guys, the iPhone 6s is finally going to bring some competition to the table, and it might outperform the Galaxy S6 Edge. I cannot wait until the day to see that. So I don't mean to come off too strong, but buy an iPhone. Apple is where the software updates flow like water on a thirsty day, where they know what you want, but they don't care. They're going to give you something that you didn't even know you wanted. Where customizing your phone isn't allowed, where we say you to removable batteries and SD cards. So that's all I got for you. Those are 15 good reasons to switch from your Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, or any Android phone for that matter, to the all-new iPhone 6s, which is coming very, very soon. Of course, once I do have this guy in hand, I'll be showing you guys everything there is, comparing these devices and how they really stack up. But how it's looking right now, this thing is really going to be a showstopper, and hopefully this video gave you a good idea, some good insight as to why you should switch to the iPhone 6s from a Galaxy device. Hopefully I didn't come off as too pushy. I love both of these, but truly, the iPhone 6s is going to be amazing, and I cannot wait to see it. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you guys liked it, be sure to like and subscribe for many more great videos. Have a great day, and be sure to check out many of the other videos on my channel. Peace.